Good evening, brothers and sisters, and welcome. I hope that you had a wonderful Wednesday. It's a great day. It's halfway through the week, so we're really looking forward to the weekend, this being Easter weekend. It's going to be very nice. I hope you guys have some plans. I really do. So today is going to be 1 second. This thing is driving me nuts. It's hard to find a good single spot. Maybe I should look for a new little stand. I hope you guys have a great Easter weekend and that everything goes good. We have just a little over a week left until General Conference, and it's going to be wonderful. I really look forward to hearing from our prophets and apostles and what great things they can teach us. Every once in a while you hear about something and it turns out to be the best news you've ever had. So I love getting church books. I love reading them. I love studying the gospel. And I was talking to one of the patients that comes in to work about the video that I introduced yesterday, and how they were talking about the Enoch calendar. And there's a gentleman, I mentioned him in the video yesterday, John P. Pratt. He's the one that understood the Enoch calendar, and he actually wrote a book. And I was telling my friend about this, and she's like, well, you ought to check over at this place. It's called Benchmark. It's a used bookstore that specializes in Latter-day Saints. And I'm like, really? I always thought it was just a publisher. We were talking and stuff. And so I go over there, and I fell in love. It is a gem. They have books that I've only dreamt of having. I'm going to make the place filthy rich just off from my money. I'm going to go broke. But I went and got a couple of books today. One that I've been wanting since it was originally announced is The Cosmos, Earth and Man. And this talks about science things in the gospel that have turned out to be true. Very fascinating. I'm looking forward to it. Today we are in Jacob chapter 5, the longest book in the Book of Mormon, or longest chapter. So with that, as I told you, I'm not going to read the chapter because it's 75 verses long. But what I will do is I found a synopsis that talks about it, and then it should go good. All right, so before we begin, let's look at some allegories, some of the symbolism and the meanings to help us better understand. And this is actually, I found this online. I can't remember what the website, but you can find it the same thing anywhere. This is not my own research. This is just what people have put together. With that, let's get started. So the vineyard in which it's talking about, this is the world. The tame olive tree is the house of Israel. A wild olive tree is Gentiles. The branches are different parts of the house of Israel. Grafting is referred to as being joined to Israel by way of covenant. So when we when we are baptized and make a covenant with God to always remember Him. That's part of becoming the house of Israel. Pruning, digging, and dunging. I don't even want to know what dunging means. Nurturing the house of Israel. And we see that a lot. The fruit is the lives and works of men. The main top of the tree is the leaders of the house of Israel. Decay is referred to as apostasy. The roots are the gospel covenants that give life to the tree. The servant is the prophets. Lord of the vineyard is Jesus Christ. Transplanting the branches. It's talking about scattering or gathering of the house of Israel. Decaying branches is wickedness and apostasy. Burning the branches, this is the judgments of God against the wicked, and other servants are members of the church who build it up. So, with that, let's go ahead and talk about the allegory of the olive tree. So, starting in verse 3, the tree is planted, and this is referring to the founding of the house of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The tree grows old, parts begin to decay. After many years of the house of Israel began to fall into apostasy. Verses 4 through 14. So verse 4, the Lord came into the vineyard and saw the decay of the branches and the apostasy. The Lord acted in verse 4 and 5. The Lord acted to stem the decay by pruning, digging about, and dunging the tree. God did what He could without destroying agency to eliminate apostasy among the house of Israel. Part of the trees recovered, but the top of the tree began to perish. Some of the house of Israel began to repent, but the leaders did not. We see this in verse 6. Verse 7 through 14, the Lord worked to save the tree. God scattered Israel. The worst branches were cut off and burned. The more apostate parts of the house of Israel were destroyed, verses 7 through 9. Verses 7 through 10, wild olive branches were grafted into the mother tree. Non-Israelites or Gentiles were mixed with the house of Israel, 7 through 10. Natural branches of the mother tree were grafted into other parts of the vineyard. Israel was scattered among the Gentiles. Some groups of Israelites, like Lehi and his family, were taken to the Americas. Verses 8, 13 through 14. Verses 44, America was prepared for the planting of the natural tree by clearing of previous growth, the Jaredites. Then we move up to the history of the Israelites in the New Testament period, including the Nephites and Lamanites. This is verses 15 through 28. The Lord returns after a long time. More ministry of Jesus Christ, found in verse 15. The mother tree, these are found in verses 16 and 18. The mother tree with wild branches grafted in produced good fruit. Gentiles converts grafted into Israel produced good works. Verses 19 through 15, the mother tree and all the transplanted branches of the mother tree bore good fruit, except for the last one. The last one that was transplanted, half of the which bore good fruit, and the other half bad fruit. Scattered Israel produced good fruit, except for the Nephites and Lamanites, which produced good and bad fruit. That's verses 19 through 25. verses 26 through 28. The Lord wants us to destroy the bad parts of the last planting, but the servant counseled to try one more time to save the tree. God did not give up on the Lamanites, but continued to work with them. The next part is the great apostasy, and this can be talked about in verses 29 through 49. Okay? Verses 29 through 37. After a long time, the Lord came back to the vineyard and found that the mother tree bore only bad fruit. After the New Testament period, the old world fell into apostasy. In 38 through 49, the natural trees which had been transplanted also bore only bad fruit. The bad parts of the last transplanted trees had overcome the good part. All the scattered Israel had also gone into complete apostasy, and the Lamanites had destroyed the Nephites. Okay. Verses 50 through 74. Oh, I guess there's 77 verses in. Shows you how often I actually make it through Jacob chapter 5. I'm embarrassed. All right. The gathering of the house of Israel, verses 50 through 74. The Lord determined to make one last effort to save his tree from grafting back into the natural tree. The natural branches he had grafted into the wild tree. After a long period of apostasy, God will make a final attempt to gather Israel from among the Gentiles. Verses 57 through 69. As part of the process, the Lord will destroy the branches of the natural tree that produce the most bitter fruit, and that newly grafted natural branches will begin to grow strong. God will gather scattered Israel to the gospel, while at the same time, those parts of Israel that produce the most evil works will be cut off. And then verses 61 through 63 and 70 through 74. In the last effort to save the tree of the vineyard, a few other servants will be called to labor. These are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who are called to help prepare the earth for the millennial reign. Verses 74 through 76, the pruning and grafting of the natural trees will continue until there is no more wild fruit on the natural trees. The Lord will continue to work with those who are gathered to the gospel and join the church until the millennium comes, when there will only be good fruits. In verse 77, the last one, after a long time, the trees of the vineyard will again produce wild fruit. Then the Lord will destroy the vineyard by fire. This is referring to the millennium ends, when evil reappears. The Lord will preserve the good and destroy the bad, and the earth will be celestialized. So, if we study the scriptures during the millennium, everyone is going to be righteous. There will be not a single wicked person. Our hearts will be so focused on the love of God that we won't want to sin. There will be no desire for us to sin. We'll be pure. But then at the end of the millennium, our hearts will start swaying from him. Those people in the last generation of the millennium, it'll be like, even for you non-members, do me a favor. Find a Book of Mormon and read 4th Nephi. I think you will find this 4th Nephi is the best example of what the millennium is going to be like, and then what it'll be like afterwards. It won't start, we won't instantly, at the end of the millennium, it won't instantly go, boom, ouch. Our hearts won't all of a sudden turn evil. It will slowly happen in process. Some of the generation will start to lose their faith and start going towards the wicked, until eventually it's time to destroy everyone. What that period is, there's speculation by many people. For me, in my honest opinion, it's 1,000 years. If we look at the history according to the scriptures, we have 4,000 years before the millennium. Then we have Christ come at the meridian of time. The meridian is the center. When Christ comes, this will be the center. And then at the beginning of the 7,000th year, that's when the millennium is. That's the 7,000th year. Then afterwards, to make things more balanced, because we have 4,000 before, we should have 4,000 after. But that's my opinion. I am just a simple elder. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I hope you have a great time, and take time to spend with your family. The family is the most important thing in the gospel. So this Easter, I hope you do spend it with it. Remember, I love you guys and I pray for you. I hope you have a great evening. We'll see you in the morning. Have a great day.